Changing the Channel, 12 Easy Ways to Make Millions for Your Business. The authors of this book generated untold millions from direct mail sales letters. They worked for Agora, which generated about $90 million per year from sales letters. One of the most important lessons in this course is that it is easier to sell to people when they are emotionally, financially, and rationally predisposed to buy. So what does that mean? That means you're not trying to convince somebody, persuade them, cajole them to buy from you. You want to go after the people that want to buy from you. That means preaching to the converted, preaching to the choir. Target qualified people. People who have already demonstrated an interest in buying products and services similar to yours. That might mean people that bought from you in the past. People that bought from competitors. And you might be thinking, well, if they bought from a competitor, then they're taken. I'm not going to be able to convince them. That's not true. People like to buy similar products. So for example, I like to buy Ralph Lauren Purple Label. I don't always buy it from the same place, but I keep buying it. So if somebody comes to me with an offer to buy Ralph Lauren Purple Label, guess what? I'm probably going to buy it. Trying to sell a watch to someone who has never bought a watch is an uphill battle. Advertising should be directed at proven buyers. You even see this with brand marketing when you're targeting large amounts of people. Best practice, target all category buyers. You're not targeting the people that don't buy from that product category. Target enthusiasts, and because you're targeting enthusiasts, write enthusiastically with your copywriting. Remind them of what they already believe, that the product will make them feel good as it had in the past. Most important media decision that you have is which publications you choose. You may need to test half a dozen to find a profitable one. And all too often what people do is they run some ads, maybe a test in one channel, say YouTube ads or banner ads on Forbes, and then it doesn't work and they say, oh, that was a failure. That's not how it works in the real world. In the real world, you may need to test different channels, different media, find out what works, find different creative that may or may not work. And then when you have a winner, you double down on it. So one of the easiest ways to make money demonstrated in the book is from teleconferences, teleseminars. These days, we typically call these webinars. It is easy and inexpensive, and it's quite an effective way to generate a lot of money. So let's talk about some examples. This teleseminar generated $13,000 in the first hour for a tax toolbox tool for CPAs, for accountants. There was another one for investment advice where tickets were $99 each, generated $74,000 in the first session. They added an encore presentation that brought in 300 new people and an additional $29,000, $700. So you can see how easy it is to make money from these teleseminars. I've done live teaching instructions and on a per hour basis. I can't think of anything that generated more money for me because you're able to create value for a bunch of different people simultaneously. You have urgency because the event is live and they have to register if they want to get access to it at that time. They can't delay the decision. So it's one formula for making money. Alex Mandossian made $5 million in a year hosting teleseminars and repurposing the content from them into books, recordings, etc. So you get a lot of longevity from these webinars. Direct mail can be used to sell them. You could sell $500 to $1,000 conferences. You could transcribe them into a white paper that you give away as a free gift for PPC customers. So they get to your landing page, and one of the incentives for them to buy now is they get this bonus, which is a recording from your seminar. Successful teleconferences, they provide value. They're informational and motivational. So you want to energize people. You want to get them excited. Promote with direct response for free or a modest fee. So your webinar might even be free, and really at the end of it, what you're trying to do is sell them maybe on your $100,000 software, depending on how sophisticated the audience is. Or maybe you charge a small fee, like $50 to get access to it, but then eventually on the back end, you're trying to make money somewhere else after you've educated the prospect. Sell the product throughout the event. So in the middle of your presentation and perhaps again at the end of your presentation, ask if the audience would buy a particular product if you provided them with a solution to all their problems. So what you're doing here is you're priming them for eventually pitching them on a product. So before, during and after the presentation, you're getting them ready to make a purchase. And then when you do sell what you're selling through the teleseminar, you sell them with bonuses and discounts as a incentive for them to respond immediately. So if they buy now, they get access to your free ebook. They get access to this 25% discount, or maybe they get a free consulting call with you. So you bundle that together and it becomes an irresistible offer. Another thing is that relentless companies succeed. So follow-ups via various channels, frequency is important to get the sale, especially when you're selling something like a high-ticket offer, I would say. If they're not responsive to an ad or sales letter, they might be responsive to an email. If they're not responsive to the email, they may see an ad on Google pay-per-click ads, or they might respond to a phone call. You should have a free newsletter promoted on your website, buying products advertised on it. So within that newsletter, you promote specific products that people can buy, and the actual email doesn't necessarily need to be salesy in and of itself, but embedded in it is the potential for somebody to buy from you. So let's talk about the difference between internet and traditional buyers. So with traditional buyers, they spent most of their money in the first few weeks or months after you present them the offer. And this is what traditionally in direct marketing we called a buying frenzy. So over time, you sent them fewer and fewer mailers, fewer and fewer pieces of direct mail, because most of the buying happened in a frenzy. But today, the world is a bit different on the internet. People are very slow to buy. They're very tentative. They buy more frequently and invest more over time as they gain more trust, essentially. So the peak buying for internet buyers is actually 6 to 12 months later. So you might be running something like some advertising, be like, oh, I'm not getting any traction here, but you have to factor in this delay. This delay is much longer than it used to be with direct mail. So the other thing to factor in is that traditional methods like direct mail and modern methods like PPC ads and webinars and things, they work well together because they create more credibility when people are exposed to the physical mail out as well as the digital promotion. So people were buying more in the author's experience because of two primary reasons. The first is the large amount of valuable free information that they're giving the prospects, and often that occurs through email, but it can happen through YouTube and other means. And number two, the increased frequency of sales messages. So hitting people with the idea of they can buy from you over time and repeating that message increases the probability they will actually buy. They also generated $10 million per year from event marketing. When you send emails, you want to avoid the temptation to sell every time you contact them because this is going to hurt you in the long run. And we see this all the time with best practices with email, is that you want to provide a lot of educational stuff or a lot of value, and then maybe every 20% of the emails you go for a hard pitch, or every email can be educational, and then embedded in it in the bottom is the option to buy from you. There are 3 ways to grow any business. This comes from Jay Abraham. Number 1, you get more customers. Number 2, you increase the number of purchases. Or 3, you increase the average amount that is spent. Now, in my situation right now, I have a lot of customers. They buy a reasonable amount of times, but the real challenge for me right now is I don't have enough high-ticket offers, so increasing the average amount that people spend is really where I'm strategically focused, but that may not be the issue for you. Maybe you only have expensive products, so really the key there is how do I get more customers? Or how do I get customers to buy more than once, and that may mean offering a lower-ticket product. Now, the famous copywriter, I've worked with him before. His name is Bob Bly. He says the number one mistake is when people don't buy, you let them leave your website or landing page without capturing their email. So one of the concepts to think about here is that email is often where you make the money. That's where you're able to promote affiliate links. That's where you're able to push people to respond, to get into a demo call, or to respond to buy something. So by capturing those emails from the people that aren't ready to buy now, you're able to sell them in the future. You're able to nurture them in the present. This is something Dan Kennedy talks a lot about, how one of the biggest mistakes direct marketers make, this is the guy who coined the phrase lead magnet, is they only present lead offers to people that are ready to buy today. So they're going to the blowout sale to the used car place, and that's over on the weekend. Or it's a free consultation, but that only appeals to people that are ready to buy now. You need to think about the majority of people who are not going to buy now. They're going to buy 6 to 12 months from now, or perhaps even years in the future. Drive traffic to some page where you can convert them into a lead or a sale. If not, you'll get traffic and no sales. You want to create urgency. If you're among the first 25 to respond, you'll be rewarded with extra bonuses, add-ons, extra guarantees, free consultations, etc. Branding. Get people to remember the product and focus on broad reach. But with direct marketing, what you're focused on instead is providing lots of information. And I would say that's one of the biggest mistakes that I encounter when I work with copywriters, especially somewhat junior ones, is they don't provide enough information. There aren't enough specifics. There aren't enough details. It's too high level. And high level is fine when you're doing brand marketing, but it doesn't work when you're trying to get people to buy today with direct marketing. People need the details. Direct marketing is also highly targeted. And I would say that Facebook advertising is one of the most effective tools to get highly targeted marketing, because the Facebook AI knows exactly the people that are most likely to respond to your ad and to buy today. With business to business, I also recommend tools like LinkedIn Advertising, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, because you can pinpoint the exact people that you want to, who meet very specific criteria. They're chief revenue officers, they're CEOs, they're CMOs at companies with X number of employees, etc. And the goal of direct is to get people to buy, not to get them to remember your product. Brand can also develop naturally, organically, by doing direct response marketing. All sales copy used to be the same. So this is the old world view of sales copy. You grab them with a benefit-oriented headline, you present your benefits, you establish your credibility with elements, you trivialize the price, and you ask for a sale. But with online sales copy today, it's different. You're trying to build a gradual bond that eventually leads to a sale. You provide value to lift yourself above the competition and establish credibility. So you can see here that the tone is very different. The tone is very much more about building trust, building your credibility, providing valuable information, not so much going for the hard sell, which is conventionally what was used with direct mail. And sometimes you have to wait months before they make their first purchase. So customer behavior has changed. Lifetime value lets you figure out how much you can spend to acquire. So later we're going to talk about how you may actually lose money on the first sale, depending on what your strategy is, but it's the back end is where you make the money. Another thing is marketing is cyclical. So for example, pop-up ads were super successful in the early 2000s, but not today. So that's why you can't rely on a single channel. You have to diversify to some extent. Let's talk about the difference between email and direct mail. Email is not exactly like direct mail. So for example, with direct mail, you would typically only send about 24 direct mail pieces per year per maximum because of the cost of sending. With email, there's really no limit. You could send as many as the customers can bear to receive. 1 per day, 1 per week, 1 per month, etc. Email is also faster, and the biggest benefit here is you can do rapid testing, A/B testing, see what people respond to. I use cold email tools like Lemlist. I use regular marketing emails through tools like MailChimp. You can test through all of these. With email, you also generally need permission first. Now, this isn't necessarily true with B2B when you're doing cold emails, but in a lot of cases it is, because there are much stricter requirements with email, both from the provider, the email provider software, as well as from the government. So what you need is a 2 to 3 step process to avoid coming across as spam. And your emails generally go to existing customers because of these 2 steps that are required, or at least people that are somewhat familiar with you. And it also means that short form becomes as important as long form when you're doing email marketing, which isn't necessarily true with direct mail. So when people make this comparison between email and direct mail, they have to understand that email is fundamentally different. And I would say one of the biggest differences is that email is rarely cold, especially when you're doing consumer marketing. These are people that signed up, they opted in, they're warm groups of people. Whereas with direct mail, you don't have to meet as strict a requirement. you have more freedom in what you write. You tend to send something longer, and you're sending it to cold prospects who maybe have never heard of you. Another option is to buy an ad in an e-newsletter, so it doesn't necessarily have to be your own email list. Banner ads, consider a controversial headline or a strong image to grab attention. Also note that copy is not king. There is an order of importance with direct marketing, and is that your list is number one. Who you're targeting is the most important factor, because it gets back to the very first point I made about you want to target people that are predisposed to buy. That's going to increase your chances of success. Second most important thing is the offer itself, and the last is the copy. Longer copy is generally better. Again, the exception here is when you're doing email, where you probably want to use a combination. And what you want to do is provoke an emotion. So there are 6 ways to begin a sales letter. Number 1, an offer or promise. 2, an invitation. 3, a problem solution. 4 is a secret. 5 is a story. And 6 is a prediction. People love predictions. This isn't just true when you're trying to do PR, you're trying to get published, because that is an easy way to get on things like podcasts and newspapers and articles, but it's also true with direct mail and direct marketing. And your message can range from being very direct to very indirect, so it doesn't have to be a hard sell. You can start first with something softer like education. And you want to have well-balanced copy is what works effectively, because you have an idea, you have a benefit, you have credibility, and you have a track record. So you're not just pushing one thing. You're not just pushing a benefit, for example. Details matter. Again, biggest mistake I see in copywriting. Not enough detail. You want to be unique, useful, urgent, and ultra specific. USP, how you are different from the competition, is important. Less important in some cases than others, I would argue. Write to one person. So you're not writing your direct mail as though it's being broadcasted to 1,000 people. Write it as though this is a one-on-one personal conversation, like I'm looking at the camera right now talking to you. Here's a copy sample. 6 months ago, I was constantly fatigued, overweight, and heading towards diabetes. Today, I'm healthy, energetic, and can fit into jeans I wore before I gave birth to 3 kids. Ex-supermarket employee reveals the secrets of how to reprogram your body's metabolic code for optimal health. Here are some examples of good headlines. You could use these, for example, with Google PPC ads. Are you waking up to pee at night? Lower cholesterol safely and naturally. Do you have syndrome X? Underactive thyroid. Fight metabolic syndrome. You can ask people their interest at the end of something like an email or a landing page. Are you very interested, somewhat interested, slightly interested, not at all interested? And based on those responses, you can figure out how to respond to them. If they're very interested, well, call them right away. If they're not that interested, we'll put them in an email cadence to nurture them so that maybe in a couple months they'll be ready to buy. Typical conversion rates for cold prospects is 30 to 90 days from PPC ads. So again, not as quick as you might expect or you might think, and yet just have to factor in those time delays when you're doing profitable marketing. Tim Ferriss was very successful because he developed relationships with influential bloggers and sent them free copies. I recommend using a tool like SparkToro to identify who influences your target audience most strongly. Social media ads. Audacity is everything. Be aggressive. Have big stories, not small stories. Crazy events, not normal events. Be odd or funny. Respect priorities. So, for example, things like world records, top 10 lists, the best of. People love listicles in particular, one of the most effective writing methods for copywriting. Give them something to talk about, a scandal, a controversy, a strong divisive point of view. Your website serves 3 purposes. It provides information, provides direct response marketing, and it also helps you build your list, your email list. Direct mail, cut your losses and let your winners run. So whatever didn't work, stop doing it. Go to a list broker and test 10 lists with a test of 5,000 names from each list. So that means 50,000 direct mail packages, 25,000 for each sales letter. You're testing 2 sales letters here, and you roll out the winner to a larger group that is 2 to 5 times the test size. You hire a copywriter to write the sales letter, someone like Bob Bly. You do a second mailing where you test another variable like the intro price or the guarantee. The list is most important because you can have mediocre copy and an ordinary offer, but if you have a strong list of people that are predisposed to buy from you, you're going to get sales. Direct mail sold lists are more responsive than compiling your lists. And your mailing list typically costs around $75 to $250 CPM with a 5,000 name minimum. A good offer can double response rates. So what is an offer? It's the product, the service, the promises about the product and service, and the guarantee all bundled together. It is specific, exclusive, valuable, unique, useful, relevant, plausible. And this is something Alex Hormozi talks a lot about, how proof is really the most important element in your message, because lots of people can make promises, but where's the proof? And is it plausible, essentially? It's easy to acquire, so the offer has to be easy to get. Oh, all I have to do is use my PayPal to get it right now, for example. And it's also urgent. There's a deadline. There's an early bird special. It's limited to only the first 250 people to respond, and there's a guarantee associated with it. Start with the prospect. The prospect cares about himself and how the product might be able to help him. Make a strong emotional case for the product. Have an irresistible offer that's too good to refuse. When you're looking at publications, they differ. Some respond immediately but die out quickly with some publications. Others are going to have a longer tail. Again, this gets to the idea that the list or the targeting is the most important factor, and user behavior based on different publications is going to be different. For example, if you go to a site that's just a deal site with coupons, well, those are impulse people that are going to probably buy tomorrow. You go to a higher level thing, Wall Street Journal, well, maybe those people aren't in market right now. Here's an example of an unusually good Super Bowl ad. For 100 free sales leads, go to salesgenie.com. They got 10,000 new subscribers from a single ugly ad. Use strong pitches that focus on value, uniqueness, and benefit. If your product is specialized, you don't need huge reach. Let's talk about TV ads. Repetition in videos makes viewers believe they want the item. Ask them to take action immediately. Talk about how the benefits will change their life. Have a credible lifestyle story, linked features to benefits, so using lines like, which means that. These ultra durable, hard plastic canopies means that your thing will be strong but not heavy and will withstand the weather, something like that. Effective TV ads are arresting. They get attention. They're direct. They show the product. They promote benefits. They provide good reasons to buy, not just sort of vague lifestyle stuff. They're benefit-oriented, in particular focusing on the USP. They're consistent. The quality of the production, the video production, matches the quality of the product. And they're compelling throughout, so they keep attention, which is one of the most effective things, in particular with YouTube videos. Direct response TV. Better if your product is unique or novel. I read a book that was basically entirely about infomercials, direct response TV marketing. And that's one of the things they pointed out, is that it's most effective when you have a unique product, a product that really does have a USP. Because if the product that you're selling is widely available in retail stores, or competing offerings are almost the same, direct response TV stops working. So it's kind of in that sweet spot where the innovation is new. For example, the Sonic toothbrush was an innovation at one point, right? A shaking toothbrush that wasn't just rotating, but today that probably wouldn't be as effective because that's so widespread among competitors. All right, you want 30 seconds for a lead gen ad, but 60 seconds if you're going to do direct sales. You want a visible CTA on the video, and it should be on the screen for at least 40 seconds, if not the entire ad. Test the magic number, $19.95. Very effective price point for direct response TV. Limited number of products available drives urgency. Have testimonials, have a celebrity endorsement, provide scientific evidence. Again, it doesn't have to be done by Harvard, that level of statistical significance, but something that at least seems a bit scientific. Have a 100% money back guarantee, and you consider something like a half-hour radio infomercial. All right, let's talk about telemarketing, phone calls. They were able to sell $25,000 worth of a seminar with telemarketing. The first call was just to qualify the audience, so it wasn't to convince them to buy. And the second call is where they have a soft sell to get them into the seminar. And one of the reasons that people respond is because it's limited to 30 attendees, and that creates a sense of urgency. Telemarketing people whose credit cards were declined is also an effective tool. So the main purpose of those calls is to fix the credit card payment problem, but then the second objective is to upsell them. The best list are people who bought from you before. Again, the biggest message here, target people that are predisposed to buy. Let them know you intend to call with good news before you call them. Establish trust in the first minute. For example, remind them of your relationship. Hey, you bought from us before, or hey, you signed up for this. Ask about satisfaction/knowledge of prior service. Again, predisposing them to say yes. So if they said, oh yeah, I was really happy with that thing that I bought from you, well, okay, you're probably going to be happy with what I'm about to sell you. Create urgency with a deadline. Have an irresistible offer. What is being sold with the price, the premiums, the reasons for urgency, guarantee, pay attention to the back end. So for example, there's going to be people asking for refunds, customers who don't convert. You have to factor that into your profitability model. Not 100% of the money that comes in is going to stay in. Joint ventures, another effective marketing method. You can have joint ventures with business celebrities. You can find people that have a like-minded email list. Don't be greedy. Be willing to give more than you can get. Create win-win situations. Work with newsletter writers and publishers and split the revenue from something like a conference. Event marketing. Attendance fees can range from $100 to $10,000, but you can start with $500 and then adjust up or down based on that. You could charge an exhibitor fee, a sponsorship fee. You can offer podium sales. And now the single piece of income at a conference is called a vertical back-end sale. This is marketing of a single high-priced offer that bundles the best products together for a one-time, highly discounted price. This could be the biggest money maker for your conference. All right, now an example of copy. Last year, 145 million people spent over $108 billion online. Where did all that money go? The other side of the internet. Now here's your chance to switch over to the winning side of the web. Other side entrepreneur JW earned $306,000 in 3 days. Other side entrepreneur PH earned $2,292,000 in 2 weeks. And then you can segue into a pitch about your seminar or your course or whatever it is that you're selling. Let's talk about public relations. Generate dozens of reviews in magazines, newspapers, in-flight publications, online business reviews. Get a reporter to do a story on you. What journalists are looking for? 2 things. News about subjects the readers are interested in, like celebrities. And 2, captivating and or curious tidbits to fill in the gaps. And let's be honest, that's where most of your business PR is going to fit. It's just stuff to fill in the gaps. It's not the big stories that people are most interested in. An example, a male basketball player wearing a wedding dress and wig to a bookstore to promote an autobiography. That's a good piece of PR. You'll have better success with local or specialized media. Look what stories journalists have used in the past. Connect with those journalists on LinkedIn, on Twitter, etc. Tie your story into current trends. This is something I've been experimenting with lately with my partners in Silicon Valley, where we're repurposing some of my content and connecting it with what's trending right now, and it's been pretty successful. Do an industry study and tie that into your product in some creative way. Doing a study, especially in business to business, is one of the easiest ways of guaranteeing success with PR. Publications aren't so much concerned with the quality of the research as the interest it will generate with readers. So don't be worried if the data you're collecting is not statistically significant. You're worried you're not doing it right. You're worried you don't have a PhD from Harvard to do the research. It doesn't really matter. That's not necessarily what journalists need from you. All right, rules of publicity. Target a very specific audience. Find out exactly what kinds of stories they enjoy. Create a story that they might be interested in. Tie the story to your product in a clever way. Develop a list of personal PR contacts. 2 kinds of products. Number 1, a need to have, which is furniture and food. Basically, you're going to provide good value at a fair price. And 2, want to have, jewelry, cosmetics, where you have to create a perceived value. 7 steps of a failed product launch. 1, get an idea for a product. 2, write or design the product. 3, print or manufacture the product. 4, advertise the product. 5, watch the marketing campaign flop and generate no sales. Sell or give away the product to family members and colleagues. And 7, store the unsold inventory until it is thrown away. This is one of the most common sources of failure with entrepreneurs, the people that come up with new product ideas, is basically this idea that I can come up with this grand idea, this great product, this great company. I'm going to go and spend a year, months building it, and then I'm going to release it to the market. But guess what usually happens is nobody buys it. And I was recently reading some research from Harvard Business School saying one of the most common reasons that startups fail is that they didn't do the research before they even built the minimum viable product. So basically, they don't know that there's any demand for what they're building before they've invested money in things like manufacturing or engineering. So make sure that whatever it is that you're selling is something people want. What you think, what you imagine people want means nothing. Testing is very important. So for example, the title of this book, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It was tested with Google PPC ads, and this was the winner, even though it was the title the authors wouldn't have picked had they not done any testing. Many marketers lose money acquiring customers, so you have to think about what scenario you want. Think about lifetime value when you answer these questions. 1, does your ad need to break even? Self-liquidating offer is another term people use, where basically you're paying for the ads with the money that comes in from the ads. Or are you willing to take a loss up front and make more money on the back end? So for example, in software as a service, SaaS, people often think about the payback period. Well, you might not get your money back until 1 year from now. But because customers are on a subscription and they stick with you for 3 years, well, you're going to start making money in years 2 and 3. Possibly 4 and 5, depending on how long the contract is and how good your product is. And then basically what you're doing is, so you're losing money in the beginning, but then you sell them more, and you can sell them more expensive products, so you're going to get upgrades and things like that. Another scenario is just to profit off the initial sale. So in my experience running something like Facebook ads, you can actually generate a pretty high ROI just from running the ad directly. Now, imagine if you run the ad directly and make a profit, but you also capture the emails of the people that didn't buy immediately. You nurture them, they buy on the long end, then you have a profit-making machine. Hopefully, customers see your advertisement in more than one channel, so be consistent with things like your colors, your images, etc. Direct response customers see an ad an average of 3 times before making a purchase, so repetition is important. Look for media where somebody is selling something similar to you and is repeatedly advertising there, because if they keep advertising there and are making money and you sell something similar, you're likely to make more money too. So another thing is there's a common mentality among people today, this idea of a blue ocean strategy, which is go where there's no competition. I actually think that in general, that's a formula for failure, because if you go where the competition is, that's typically where the money is. That's where people are making money. If you come up with something super unique where there's no competition, I mean, yeah, you might create a whole new product category, but the higher chances is that you're not going to sell barely anything. You might get 5 people that are interested. So go where the competition is succeeding, and you can have something like an endorsed email that you pay for that generates a 300% ROI, one of the highest ROI media presented in this book. All right, we're going to close here with a couple of examples of good copywriting. 6 life-saving special reports, yours free. Give us 5 days in July, and we'll give you income